LinkedIn, we are going to fire up your Monday.
With Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
Over the next hour of this Master Connection series, we will take a deep dive into the different ways to connect and network effectively.
See us and hear us right now. So LinkedIn, we are on here. We're getting ready.
Hear from experts along with Steve Spiro, who went from being shy and introverted to the Master Connector.
Can't hear you.
All right. On mute. There we go. LinkedIn, excited to start the show with you today. We have amazing guests. We're talking about getting through obstacles, right? Turning obstacles into opportunity. I'm going to introduce my main man, Steve Spiro, the Master Connector. Here we go. Pushing my buttons. My computer's not fully cooperating today. Well, we'll get through this. Here we go. Steve Spiro is a martial arts black belt and a master networker. He's moved from being a shy, introverted kid to the master connector he is today. Steve Spiro began his business career by starting an advertising company in NYC. He had an incredibly fulfilling career and experience in advertising and marketing, but eventually pivoted to the technology industry. Today, he's a certified customer communications consultant with Quadient, where he consults and mentors companies to help them find more effective ways to connect with their customers. Steve Spiro believes in the power of mentorship, growing oneself through self-development, and continuing to create meaningful connections through building a large network. Welcome to the stage, the Master Connector himself, Steve Spiro.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, Cameron, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. As usual, always appreciate all that you do. Hey, folks, it's Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. Cameron and I really appreciate you tuning in. We're here every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We come at you with engaging content on how you, too, can be a master connector. During this Master Connection series, each week our goal is to gather subject matter experts to impart their wisdom on us. Welcome to the show. I'm very blessed to have my co-host, Cameron Toth. Cameron is the founder of Biz Dev Live. Cameron founded Toth Event Staffing in 2011. Toth Event Staffing is a hospitality company providing staff to caterers, cafeterias, and catering departments in Westchester, New York, and New York City. BizDev Live was founded in 2020 and is a weekly show that airs on multiple platforms, including right here on LinkedIn Live, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. BizDev Live takes Cameron's entrepreneurship experience and combines it with his passion for helping people and business-minded professionals. Cameron Toth's mission in life is increasing access to education and opportunity for all people. So please bring back to the stage my man, my partner in crime here, Mr. Cameron Toth.
Thank you so much. I want to shout out Bodil McCaskill tuning in from Scotland. We got Estelle checking in from Quebec City. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody up there. Listen, if you are tuning in, we always love hearing where you're tuning in from. Post in the chat. We love to see that. Love to see all the different places that people are tuning in from. I know Darren's tuning in from Dubai today, 100 degrees, a nice dry heat, right, from where he's tuning in. Please let us know where you're tuning in from today. Please let us know so we can highlight you and shout you out. We love our community. We're talking about community last week, and our community is fabulous. You make this show a better show. So thank you, Steve, for introducing me. I'm going to fly on over to Mr. Darren Jacklin here and introduce him. Here we go. All right. Buttons don't fail me now. Here we go. Here we go. Darren Jacklin. For over 23 years, Darren Jacklin has traveled 4 continents and personally trained and developed over 1 million people in over 48 countries. He has mentored entrepreneurs and business owners on specific and measurable strategies. These strategies have been implemented into businesses to increase income, transform obstacles into cash flow, and turn passion into profits. Darren has an uncanny ability to increase wealth and success by uncovering hidden assets, overlooked opportunities, and undervalued possibilities. His talent has captured the attention of Tiger 21, family offices, the Wall Street Journal, Yahoo Finance, NBC TV, CBS TV, CTV, CBC, Global TV, international radio stations, magazines, newspapers, movie producers, best-selling authors, CEOs, and business experts worldwide. Darren is featured as an international celebrity in the 2015 movie The Treasure Map. Darren Jacklin currently sits on paid international boards of directors and advisory boards of public and private companies, and with this experience has successfully advised a small private American residential real estate company to grow to an internationally recognized publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. He has also personally trained 157 Fortune 500 companies such as Microsoft, AT&T, Black & Decker, Barclays Bank, as well as high school, college, and university students, and lastly, professional athletes. Please welcome to the show the dangerously effective Mr. Darren Jacklin. Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful to be here, and greetings from Dubai tonight. I'm actually, I live in Vancouver, Canada, but I'm actually here on business right now in Dubai here for the week. And so I'm grateful to be here and be in service. And to all my Canadian friends back there, happy Canadian Thanksgiving today. And I'm grateful to be in service and make a difference today.
Love it. Thanks, Darren. All right, we're flying over to Michelle Hecht. Michelle is the founder and CEO of Phoenix Factor Consulting, a company that focuses on both individual and group sales, leadership, and resilience coaching. She's a LinkedIn top 100 sales star, the host of a new weekly series called Fireside Chats, and a founding member of Talent Champions Council, a leading private membership community for innovative talent strategy that puts people over everything. Michelle is a dedicated advocate for women in sales and avid networker, speaker, and has worked with clients throughout the US, in the UK, Asia, and Australia. Please welcome to the show the amazing Michelle Hecht. Thank you for being on the show with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we're going to jump into this show here. We got everybody on screen now. And what I want to jump into right away, because this show is all about really how do you transform obstacles into opportunities. So we want to give some frame of reference to that. So our first question today is really, what were some of the biggest stumbling blocks in your life and how did you overcome them? And we were talking about this. I know Steve is going to jump in here, but we're going to go straight over to Darren and then go to Michelle. Go ahead, Darren.
Yeah, great question. For me, it was my mindset, the way I was thinking, right? A lot of people around the world right now, we hear the saying that people have financial problems or money problems. There's no lack of money on the planet. I've been with people here in Dubai the last couple of days. I've got huge, significant financial problems. They make so much money, they don't know what to do with it in terms of allocation. I was just with a guy here just a few hours ago that has over $200 million. And so the thing is, we don't have money problems in life, we only have thinking problems. And for me growing up, I was in grade 1, I was labeled special needs, special education. I failed grade 1 of public school, was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability, and was put into special education from grade 1 to grade 12 and was labeled retarded. So I know what it's like to have a lot of labels and judgments and low self-esteem and not feel like I matter or not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. And when I became 7 years of age, I created my first little company called Rent a Kid, where I'd go out and cut grass, shovel snow in the wintertime, and deliver newspapers 6 days a week because I saw opportunity zones everywhere around me by solving problems in my neighborhood, in my community. And so I'd go knock on strangers' doors in my community and look at how to solve a problem in exchange for money, whether it was cutting their grass, raking leaves, painting their fence, taking their garbage out, walking their dog, watering their plants. So I learned at a very young age that was the mindset, because fear does not live in action. Anything we really, really want in our lives is going to come from strangers. But we're taught as children, as part of our environment and our culture, don't talk to strangers. But yet, maybe we'll unpack it during this hour, that strangers are everything we want, everything we need, everything we desire in our lives. It comes down to two things: requests and promises. And if you take on making requests and making promises as strategies, your bank account will change, your lifestyle will change over a period of time, and your metrics in terms of your results will change. And it's just about being proactive by making requests and promises. And so to me, it's about mindset. When you change your mindset, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at in life start to change. And so the next time you watch the news media on television or on the internet, don't get all depressed and feeling negative, feel inspired that those are opportunity zones of challenges and problems and adversities that people are going through, or companies or organizations or the environment, whatever it is. And you can turn those crises into an opportunity, and you can monetize those and create multiple revenue streams of income. And you don't have to leave your home. You can do it virtually today, anywhere you are on the planet. You can be in a third world country, first, second, third, it doesn't matter where you are. You can today, if you got access to the internet and technology, you can solve a problem, whether it's virtually online or it's in your own neighborhood or your own community. And it's just by changing the way you think, because we don't have money problems in life, we have thinking problems. If you want to make more money, go solve people's problems and you'll be paid for it.
Darren has just an amazing personal story that puts that word into action, right? You've been proof positive of that. Go ahead, Michelle. I know you wanted to jump in. What were some of the biggest stumbling blocks in your life? How did you overcome them?
Well, again, thank you for great question, great thought-provoking question. For me, it was an accumulation of a lot of things. I think that there's no one particular month or year or job or situation in life where you stop and say, wow, like this is a pivotal moment. The way I look at it, it's like a snowball effect. It's an accumulation of things, and we tend to, and when I say we, I mean all people. We tend to try to solve problems, and we want to think differently and want to have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. But we push the envelope, and we keep pushing and pushing because we think we haven't uncovered certain stones yet, certain truths. My peak, I guess, when I realized that everything I had been doing, I was doing not incorrectly, but I was looking at it through the wrong set of lenses, was probably 2 years ago. And I know I've shared this story often, but for the sake of time, it was a lot of traumatic experiences, both professionally and personally, within a very short period of time, within the span of a year and a half, between losing family members, young family members, my mother-in-law. I was in a car crash with my children. I was part of a layoff early in 2019, a large layoff. My husband was part of a layoff also with his organization. There was just a lot of things that happened financially, with the job, personally, within the family, that caused me to look inward and say, something's got to give. And if I continue doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to get the outcome that I'm seeking, because that is the definition of insanity. And that was a turning point for me, being in my mid-40s and having everything from every angle not going the way that I wanted it to go, and I thought that it was going to go, because we have expectations. You know, I put the work in, and I went to school, or I put the time in, and I worked at this company for X amount of years, and I did what I was supposed to do, and I overcame obstacles, and now where's my gift? Where's my prize? It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And that's where critical thinking comes in. So in many ways, I kind of lumped all of that together, and I went on a different type of journey, starting with the inside, working from the inside out. And so all of my 2020 was probably the best year of my life, believe it or not, in terms of growth, in terms of a mindset shift, just like Darren said. And Darren, I thank you for bringing that up first, because it really is all about that. And then from there, it snowballed for me in a productive way, personally, professionally, spiritually, financially. And I'm grateful for all of it. I could say that now, looking back. When you're in the middle of it, it's not so pretty. But when you come out on the other side and you realize all of the work that it took to get through that, I always say we grow through what we go through. And I swear by that statement, because it's true. And I thank you for having me on today. And I'm looking forward to getting into more detail about all of this with all of you. So thank you.
Love it. All right. Our master connector here, Steve Spiro. Talk to us.
Yeah, well, you know, and I definitely can't wait to dig into some of those a little bit more about the stories. And by the way, if you haven't had a chance to connect with Michelle or Darren, and if they're open to connecting with you, which I believe they are, you should connect. They do have amazing stories.
We got some head nodding going on there.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, hey, so, and we all have our story, and I love what Michelle just said. You know, in terms of you grow through it. And I think is what she said. You don't go through it, you grow through it. I love it. And so, you know, for me, I think there's two very significant things that kind of initially held me back, obstacles that I almost didn't realize they were obstacles. I was kind of actually maybe three, but I was shy, introverted, learning disabled, and dyslexic, right? Darren, you mentioned a little bit of a learning thing or whatever you were labeled as. And I don't think I was labeled. I labeled myself. I mean, I was the kind of guy when I was reading out loud, I would turn beet red, I would stutter, I would stumble. I didn't realize I had this, but reading was really hard for me, and it affected my self-esteem. I felt embarrassed. I felt humiliated. And so I realized later on, way later on in life, I guess when my mom told me that she had some kind of dyslexia, I realized I probably had it too. I've never bothered getting diagnosed. It's too late in life. It wouldn't matter. But I realized that learning disability, which probably was an obstacle, I turned it into an asset in the sense that I wound up going into the creative side. I wound up going into advertising. I became an associate creative director. And I started to look at things differently. I think the fact that I was challenged with the way I traditionally learn, I had to problem solve and look at things differently than maybe most people did to be able to get around those challenges. So that obstacle of learning disability turned into a great opportunity for me to become a better version of me. And then the other part of it was, being picked on and bullied. And, you guys heard in my bio, double black belt. And, it's pretty cool to know that you can kick butt anytime you want to. I've not had to use it, but it's just the confidence. But, and that getting, 2 different black belts, a 4th degree in Goju karate and a 1st degree in jiu-jitsu. And I'm not saying that to brag, but those things were accomplished as a result of the fact that I was picked on. And I didn't do it right away. In fact, the story goes, as a kid, 8, 10, 9, 10, 11, whatever, probably around the 80-year-old category. I don't remember exactly. My family sent me to judo class, and all it did was it made the kids want to bully me more because they're like, well, let's see what you got, right? And then, of course, ultimately, later on in life, I was actually 20 when I started training again in the arts. That was a game changer. And I used all of the people in my brain that picked on and bullied me as a way to kind of motivate me and get me through the really bad challenges of who I had to fight up against. I was, I'm 5'7" barely, probably 5'6", a little stocky, short limbs. I was not like the classic martial arts body frame. And all the guys that were up against all seemed like giants to me. It's like a David and Goliath story, basically every fight. But that motivation and what I felt inside of me from those people that bullied me and picked on me, I used as motivation to get through those challenges. And again, later in life, I've been able to draw from those feelings to get through other challenges. And so, a lot more. Obviously, I want to hear from everybody. Cameron, we want to hear your story because I know, knowing you as a friend now, I know you've got some challenges that you've been able to kind of work through, and that's been a blessing to your life. So I'm going to turn it back to you, sir.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, for folks that are familiar with my story, that I didn't graduate high school, and this one been one of the things that's given me a real passion for education. It's why I started up Biz Dev Live. It's why I've been working for the last 25 plus years doing college and career preparation with high school kids, because I understand the impact that finishing up your education, making some of those really smart moves when you're young, thinking about saving, thinking about how you're going to, plan your family. I had a child at 19 years of age. So these were huge obstacles, and I've turned them into opportunities because I've said to myself, this is something that I can help somebody else with. I've gone through it. And because I've gone through it and I've figured some things out, I started up Toth Event Staffing in 2011 after getting laid off. So talk about another, obstacle becoming an opportunity. I didn't want to go back and work for corporate. I was dealing with challenges in my life. I was married with 2 children in 2009, and we were in Mexico because there's no path to citizenship, and my wife is Mexican, so we were trying to work out our paperwork, and the U.S. government was saying, all right, 13 to 15 months before we let your wife back in, and then I'm getting a call from the company that I'm working with, you're laid off. And they laid off 50 of the 100 employees that I was working. I was working a medical education meetings job in Stamford, Connecticut. And so those challenges, those obstacles, I like to say, I'd like to think I've turned those into great opportunities. Being laid off turned into opening up my own company 10 years ago, and have done pretty well with it, and created a life where I get to see my children. I have 4 children at home with my wife now, and we have a great time. I get to see them come home from school, but I'm still workaholic. I still do my work, still pay the rent and all that good stuff, and make that happen. And then the challenges with education, the opportunity that, I get to go out and really do something that's very fulfilling to me, and I think to so many others, which has helped them along with their education, whether it's education, advancing, making smart moves early in life if you're a young person, or through Biz Dev Live, now saying, all right, hey, I've started a company. This is some of the real basic pieces of it. These are the things that you can do to make your life better. And that's I think something that everybody can sort of do in their life when they have a challenge. Turn that lemon into lemonade, right? That's the whole point. And I love hearing those stories from Darren and Michelle, Steve, certainly your story as well. Really incredible. All right, so I want to keep the show going. I want to call out to some of our audience here. We got folks checking in. Happy to be here from Jacksonville, emphasizing the sunny Florida location that she's in. Olivia, we're glad that you're here with us. Gabe checking in from Dallas, Texas. We appreciate you. We have Vincent Conti checking in. I'm not sure. He's Raleigh, North Carolina. Estelle checking in before from Quebec, and Bodo we got right at the beginning, Scotland. So continue to let us know. We always love hearing where you're tuning in from. Keep the commentary going. Great comments in the comments. So our next question here, really want to get into what is your mindset when you face challenges and obstacles in your life now? Especially because we've talked about a lot of early life stuff or things that have happened in the past, but we face obstacles every day. So what's the right mindset that you want to have in this? Darren, Michelle, let me know who wants to jump in next. I'm going to throw it over to Steve, who will get things started off, and then we're gonna riff on this piece. And for everybody that's watching, what is your mindset when you face challenges and obstacles in your life? I have a question for the audience here in terms of, do you fight? Do you flight? Are you flee? Right? Do you run away? What are you doing when you run into an obstacle? Are you approaching it in a calm and patient manner, or are you running away? Would love to hear from you. Go ahead, Steve.
Go for it. I work it out on paper. So I actually have a journal, and I journal. I handwrite things down on a paper, and I work things out on paper. I learned many years ago, I was traveling the world doing corporate training, that I dealt with some of the most successful CEOs around the world, one of the largest companies in the world. And these different men and women always said, success leaves clues. And so whenever you have a challenge or a problem, or you're thinking financially or relationship things, get out of your head and work it out on paper. And so if I was at home right now, you'd see my home office. I've got whiteboards and flip charts all around me in my home office, and I'm constantly writing things down with different colored markers. So the key thing is the mindset is nothing's ever in our way. It's only on our way. And a lot of times people say, why is this happening to me? Rather than saying, why is this happening for me? And if we look at, for example, I'll just use the stock market as an example. And if we went onto the internet and we just picked some public company, and we looked at their stock over the last 5 or 10 years of the peaks and valleys that they've went through. The thing about this, if you were to invest in a stock, when would you invest in a stock? When it's high or when it's low, right? They always say you buy low, sell high, right? So think about this. If your life is full of peaks and valleys, is if you watch it for a moment, here's something to understand about life, condition of being a human being. We're either coming from a problem, we're in a problem, or heading towards a problem. Just take a look at your last 7 days of your life. You're either coming from a problem, right? You've just come through a problem, personally fresh in your life earlier today. You're currently in a problem right now, or you're heading towards a problem. And when you can accept that, that's the condition of being a human being, that you're going to come from a problem, in a problem, or heading towards a problem. And the bigger the levels that you go at in your life, personally and professionally, the bigger the obstacles, the adversities, the challenges, the failures, the setbacks that you're going to attract into your life. Okay. You go out and make a whole bunch of money, you may have a tax problem, right? You go out and build a company and you've got to hire employees. Now you got to figure out how to make the payroll and pay their wages. Okay. So there's always different obstacles. And so the mindset is turning the obstacle into an opportunity. And so the key thing, what I always do is work things out on paper. And whenever I'm presented with an opportunity, so one of the things I always discover from my own experience, was when I'd work things out on paper, I would look at my inner circle, my network of my 5 closest people that spent the most amount of time with me. And if these men and women couldn't help me solve this problem or challenge or obstacle that I have, then I have to step out of my inner circle to other people, whether it's virtually online or geographically where I live. And so I always say to people, how do you know when you level up? People always say, well, how do you know when you're leveling up or skilling up? Right? Sometimes you hear that phrase, I'm leveling up. Well, how do you know when you're leveling up? You're leveling up and skilling up when you can't solve a problem with your network or inner circle. So you step out of your inner circle to other people, and they help you solving your problem or your challenge. And one of the things that I found from experience now is I used to be a solo entrepreneur, right? Want to do everything all by myself. Now I have an advisory team of people around me. Okay, I have what I call a life team. And so I never solve complex or challenging problems personally or professionally. I always go to other people as a sounding board, and I talk it through and talk it out loud with them. Not only do I work things out on paper, so I write things out first of all on paper, like on a journal or a flip chart or a whiteboard, but then I go through telephone or Zoom video conferencing or in person, and I collaborate with other like-minded people. So I always say to people, if you're financially stressed right now, then you don't want to be around the people that are just like you. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck, for example, and let me just give you some numbers, 78% of the North American population live paycheck to paycheck. The majority of people, 80% of the population in America, cannot write you a check for $1,000 cash. Okay, research it, look it up. It's staggering. And so the thing is to understand is that for most people, when they're living paycheck to paycheck and they want to break through that vicious cycle, they go to their friends. They go to people in their environment because that's where they're comfortable. That's where they're safe. The challenge is you want to go to somebody who's not living paycheck to paycheck. In January of this year, I was weighing 218 pounds. I was fat and statistically overweight, looking at myself disgusted in the mirror. And I said, I got to change. So on January 28th, I made a decision by the time I went to bed that night that I was going to have a strategy on how to release weight. Now, don't lose weight. You don't want to ever lose weight because you'll find it again, because the condition of the brain is when you lose something, you're going to go find it. So the mindset is I'm going to release weight. So my target was to go from 218 pounds to 200 pounds from February the 1st of 2021 to June 15th. And on May 23rd of 2021, I weighed 190 pounds. Today, I'm 188 pounds. So I overexceeded my target. Now, how did I do that? First thing I did is I scheduled into my calendar hiking opportunities. And I created a hiking team through WhatsApp. So I had accountability. I created a community and environment. Then I structured it. So if you want to make more money in your life, what you need to do is in the next 7 days in your calendar, it has to be structured into your calendar. What are your revenue generating activities? What are your passive income opportunities? What's your wealth building activities? What's your generational wealth plan activities? And you have to structure it and start to live by a calendar. And so for me, I was committed 1 day a week, every Sunday, I would go hiking with a hiking group. And then once I got consistent over a couple months with just Sundays, then we moved up to 2 days, then 3 days. Now, when I'm home back in Vancouver, Canada, I'm hiking 5 to 6 days a week. I'm doing 60 to 80 miles of hiking a week, rain or shine. Now you got to remember, this is a guy that, 9-10 months ago, that was unimaginable. I couldn't even think about that in my mind. If you told me that I would go out and hike some of the biggest mountains in British Columbia, Canada, I would have thought you're crazy. But today I've accomplished that in the last 9 months of my life because I kept on leveling up and challenging myself more and more and more. So environment is always stronger than willpower. So whatever you want in your life, if you're stuck, get around people. If you're struggling right now in your relationship to have date nights and quality time with your spouse or your partner, you've got to find people in your neighborhood, your community who are thriving in their relationship. If you're not a good mother or father right now with your kids, you got to find people in your area that are having a great relationship with their children, or spiritual or financial, whatever it is, whatever you're lacking, find it either online or in your community of people who are thriving in that area, because proximity is power, and spend time with those people and get into that ecosystem, that environment, because then it will give you a different reference point. If you're not succeeding right now, if you're struggling right now in your life with a layoff or a job loss, listen, I had a guy the other day, he said, Darren, I'm unemployed right now. I said, listen, your job is finding a job. That's your mindset right now. Your job is finding a job. You're employed. You're employing yourself to actually make the phone calls, follow up, send out the resumes, network and prospect and talk to people and follow up. That's your job right now. That's your job description, is to go out looking for work. And he's like, wow, I feel different. I said, now start to keep track of that. And now start to make phone calls and requests to people and help you. He found a job within 24 hours because he went to people who love and care about him. He said, listen, I need help, because he was scared to ask for help. I said, you got to put your cards on the table and just be vulnerable. Deal with the real stuff. I need help right now. I got to take care and provide for my family. I need to look for some work, and put it out there and make a request and allow yourself to be open to receiving. A lot of people are good at giving, but they're not good at allowing themselves to be open to receiving.
I love that. And we've talked about that with The Go-Giver by Bob Berg, talking about that, being open to receiving. Love that. I want to get this question from Gabe answered here. So how do you change your mindset if you've always been one who is a flight type of individual? Michelle, I don't know when you want to jump in. Darren, you guys want to go at it? And then we want to hear from you as well, Michelle, on this question of what is your mindset when you face challenges and obstacles in your life?
General question or to Gabe's question?
So let's get Gabe question. So I mean, I think from Darren's piece, if you don't mind me speaking a little bit for you, Darren was talking about reaching out to people that have another mindset from you, that are more successful than you are, and that could be one way to tackle this problem, right? If you've had this mindset of typically running away from a problem, finding those people that don't and finding out what strategies they're using and asking for help. And I think that's a tough thing for a lot of people, asking for help, just getting over that hump of like, I'm going to ask somebody who knows better than I do, or at least they seem they know better, which I think is something that we also have to talk about, because sometimes we think people have a better idea on how to do something that we do, and they might not actually, right? And so
I'll just share one thing before Michelle answers.
Yeah, go.
So with regards to that, and then I'll let Michelle jump in, is as human beings, we want to look good, and we also don't want to look bad. Just think about that in your life today. Just self-reflect over the next 24 hours. Where in your life do you always want to look good? And where do you want to not look bad? Some of you might be watching this show right now and you're supposed to be at work, but you're home right now and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get caught being on this thing. This is more enjoyable than actually me doing my work right now. But you want to look good because you don't want to make a request from your boss or somebody in your home saying, gosh, I need to do this, because you want to look good, but you also don't want to look bad. And so the thing is, when it comes to asking for help, we want to look good, like we got it all together. And we don't want to look bad that something's wrong with us, or we look stupid or not good enough for that. And we play this dance inside of our head of wanting to look good and not wanting to look bad. And just know this as a self-awareness, how many times when you become aware of this, it will change your life. Of how many times throughout the day you want to look good in traffic, when you're at a shopping mall, at a grocery store. You know, I go to the gym sometimes now and I see women putting lipstick on in the gym, right? They want to look good. And yet they're there to they're there to sweat. And yet they still want to look good, but yet they don't want to look bad. So just some things to consider.
There's a whole gym leisure industry because people want to look good while they're working out, right? Go ahead, Michelle.
Well, just to piggyback on so many great things that Darren said, even just now piggybacking, looking good, not looking bad. I'd like to throw in the mix also, just because it is Women in Sales Month, and I can really identify with so many women that I talk to on a daily basis who are caretakers and moms. While a mindset shift and how you're looking at things is very, very important, and kind of almost arming yourself with positive thoughts and realistic expectations and actions when you're bombarded with so many things from so many angles. It's still very different if we do compare sometimes how men approach all of these things and how women approach them. Because, and this is just from experience, being a wife, being a mother, wearing 15 hats, trying to get through a pandemic of the last 19 months and make sure that dropping a ball is not even an option out of the 15 that I'm juggling. Whether it's men, whether it's women, for the sake of this example, I'll use women. When you're juggling so many balls and wearing so many hats, you don't want to look bad professionally. You don't want to look bad personally. You don't want to show up and not give 100% and be viewed as 100%. You want to make it look like you're holding it all together. And so when you play that game in every facet of your life, and you know deep down inside that you're not holding it together, but everyone else thinks that you are, that's toxic and it's self-destructive. And so there are many people that have the ability to step outside of that chaos and ask for help and surround themselves with people that are doing it better or have overcome those obstacles, who can be a mentor and who can guide you. But there are so many people that don't know how to ask for help, because
Dave has this question. I just want to get this in because it's right on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Asking for help isn't always the easiest thing to do.
At
What
all.
advice would you give to someone who's afraid to ask for help? So perfect for what you're jumping into right now. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And it sounds wonderful, right? It sounds easy. And for some people, it's very easy. But for so many people, especially women, working mothers right now, it is impossible, because you don't want to be perceived as weak or that you're failing in one area of your life. And I know so many people like this, so many women who will be struggling financially. It's chaotic raising their children, making sure that they're okay academically and socially and emotionally. Their marriage might be crumbling. The communication between, partners is obviously crumbling. Jobs are not secure, crazy schedules, shuttling the kids back and forth, trying to be organized. But yet it sounds good. It sounds great to write things down. It sounds good to have reminders. It sounds good to meet with people once a week. I lost 43 pounds in the last 2 years. I know what that feels like, to get sick of it and fed up and just say enough is enough. I'm unhappy and I don't feel good in my own skin. But the thing is, I might have made up my mind, but I didn't do it myself. The big word right now that I'd love to put out there is accountability. So whether you're accountable to one person who keeps you in check, whether it's losing weight, getting more exercise, eating healthy, looking at your finances, maybe like shaving a little bit off each month in one area, it's more important to make the decision to start and to put your toe in the water. And I always talk about this, than to step back and say, oh my God, I'm looking up at this huge mountain. I don't know how the hell I'm going to climb it. And if I don't climb it, I'm going to fail and I'll be miserable for the rest of my life. No, it's not about the mountain. It's about taking that one little step in front of you, that even if it's an inch that you'll be elevated, get there, celebrate the fact that you went up 1 inch, and then take it up another inch. So all of these things sound incredible, but when you're in the middle of the storm, in the eye of the storm, and you can't seem to find your way out, and you feel that you're at rock bottom, you need help, you need accountability, you need to shift your mindset. And exactly what Darren said about writing things out. He might have whiteboards and flip charts and whatnot. It is a very powerful tool when you put on paper what is in your head and you write it with your hand. I don't mean type it, I mean write it, because you look down and you realize, my window is open and the page is blowing. You realize that, oh no, I'm looking at this now and it must be real because I just wrote it and I don't want to see it because it's real and it bothers me. Well, good for you. It should bother you. It should hurt a little bit. It should sting a little bit, because then you have nowhere to run. It's in your face and you have to do something about it, and you're never alone. So making the decision to do something about it, writing it down. I have a method that I use called the COP method. It has nothing to do with police. And it's all about compartmentalizing, organizing, and prioritizing. And for anyone listening today that wants a free tool to be able to map this out, this is a game changer and it's very, very powerful. So in summary, there are lots of steps that work, but they work synergistically to get to where you want to go. But it's a process. It takes patience. It takes momentum. But the hardest part of the whole thing is the decision that enough's enough. I have to do something about it. And I might have to get uncomfortable, but I have to accept the fact that I will get uncomfortable. It won't kill me, but I'm willing to get uncomfortable to get to where I want to be.
What does the COP stand for, Michelle?
Compartmentalize, organize, and prioritize.
Compartmentalize.
Yep. Compartmentalize. You're
organize and prioritize.
Organize and prioritize.
You're taking the major areas of your life that are the heaviest right now, which is pretty much the same for most people. It's their career, it's their finances, it's family dynamics, it's their marriage. It could be something health related. It's a bunch of things. And you start wide and you narrow down. You put them in different boxes and then you label those boxes and then you prioritize those boxes and you get very granular with what belongs in the column that you can control, that's directly in your sphere of influence. and what belongs to other people and their expectations. And it's about creating boundaries, and it's about focusing on your needs and what you need to move the needle, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And when you learn how to create those boundaries and put things where they belong and give things to other people, and in a way saying, you know what, this belongs to you right now. I have to refuel. I have to pour back into myself so that I can be of service to the people and the things around me that need me the most.
Love it. We have amazing experts on the stage, but I always love hearing from folks in the audience and making a decision, right? We've sort of alluded to that a lot, but Joyce Johnson put it in writing in the chat here. Make a decision, right? So many people are on the fence. Oh, I want to lose weight, but right, I want to do this, but make a decision, write it down, prioritize. I love we're talking about the prioritize piece. Joyce Jen says, love your passion, Michelle Hecht. So appreciate that. Steve, I know you want to jump in. Go ahead.
I agree.
And just before you get started, Steve, I just want to throw out another question to the audience here. Do you consider yourself a victim or a victor? This is such an important piece on the mind set piece. Do you consider yourself a victim or a victor? We've talked about storytelling in the past. Are you the hero of your own story? Are you the victim of your own story? That plays out very differently when you're talking to people, right? Do you consider yourself a victim or victor? We want to hear your answers. Please share this live out. Hit those emojis at the bottom there, the thumbs up, the clap emotion, the heart. Curious helps us share the show out so we can get more of this great information to more people. Go ahead, Steve.
And if you're watching it on the replay later, make sure #replay for sure. But yeah, listen, you know what, Cameron, I don't know about you, but this has been a tremendous show. Normally we've got more people, like more panelists, and we get little bits and pieces of everybody. But hearing, Darren, like be able to and I don't mean this disrespectfully, rant for like 5-6 minutes, and Michelle then expressing her passion. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think our viewers are really loving it as well. So really appreciate what you both are doing for the show and for our viewers, most importantly. It's been amazing. But so, I know the question is, what's the mindset of overcoming obstacles, I believe is the question, right? When you face challenges and obstacles in your life. And I have a different way of thinking of it. And it's not dissimilar to what you guys are, but maybe a little bit of a different perspective. I heard this said, one of my mentors in life, said this, and I use it now. It's like, when he goes to do anything, whether it be a game or just life's challenges, it's I win, let's play, right? So like, rather than let's play and let's see what happens. So I win, let's play. And what I've learned in life, just through some of these things I've experienced, another thing is, if you don't quit, you win, right? And we've seen movies and where there's different fight scenes, and what about the fight scene where the guy just keeps getting up? It's like, I don't know if you guys remember some of the older Terminator movies, but, the guy, he just kept coming at him, right? It was just the arm, and the arm was coming at him, right? That's all was left. But, if you don't quit, you win. So if you go in with that mindset of, I'm going to do this come heck or high water, I'm going to get it done, there's a confidence. And that is the mindset that's going to propel you to not flight or run or flee, but to fight through it. The other thing, and now Darren, you spoke about some really great nuggets, but you mentioned having an advisory board and having people behind you and people that back you, and empowering yourself with a great team behind you, empowering yourself with incredible knowledge behind you. There's, obviously you can't, fight in the martial arts if you never trained. So that's probably not a good thing. So you need to have some training. You need to make sure that you've prepared your mind. But once you've got some of that, and again, it's always work in progress. You never arrive, right? But going in that mindset, I'm going to win. I am winning. It's a done deal, and no one's going to stop me. And I think Darren, you might have said this, or Michelle. If there's a big boulder in front of me, I'm going to figure out a way over it, under it. I'm going to move it. I don't care. I'm going to dig a trench below it. Somehow, some way, I'm going to get through this obstacle. I'm going to figure out a way and get it done. And that's the mindset that we need to succeed and to blow past these obstacles and to be able to create opportunities from those obstacles. So that's what I wanted to share.
Sure.
I love that. And I think mindset, I just want to go back to Joyce Johnson's comment, making a decision. I think that's been the biggest thing for me, just making that decision, right? That you want to make a change and then taking action, right? And we've talked a lot of different strategies, different ways, whiteboarding it, feeling comfortable, getting into a place where you're not playing the comparison game and you're comfortable reaching out to people, getting comfortable in your own skin, knowing that you want to make a change. Big, big, big deal. What do you do to strengthen your resolve to move forward when the storms hit? Now, we've been moving through an incredibly traumatic period in the world with this whole pandemic. I've been talking about it, so many different conversations. There's always going to be something else. We've experienced it over the last 20, 30 years, whether it's 9/11, financial downturn, 2008, 2009, fast forward. I mean, you can throw things like SARS, depending on where you live in the world, there's always going to be something. We're going to be dealing with climate change for the next however knows many years. There's going to be something that affects you, that affects your business, that's going to drastically change the world. And we're going to have to be ready for it. If we don't want to be continually playing catch up, how are you getting yourself prepared for the storm that you know is going to hit? You may not know when, but you know it's coming. So what do you do to strengthen your resolve and move forward when the storms hit? Who wants to jump in first on this?
I could jump in, but I have a feeling that just from basically Darren is waiting, is chomping at the bit to answer it. I'm sure Michelle is too. But hey, and Darren, I'd love to hear your perspective first, because honestly, I know you've had a lot of them. So we all have, everyone on this call has, but let's hear from Darren first.
I've overcome a tremendous amount of adversities and failures and challenges. In fact, I was so broke once, I actually went to declare personal bankruptcy, and I couldn't afford to go bankruptcy because I couldn't afford to pay the fees. So people always ask, they go, have you ever been bankrupt? I said, I couldn't afford it. And, I used to have in Canada, for the Canadians that are watching, I used to have an R9 credit score in my 20s. And R9 is worst case scenario. It's the worst possible case scenario credit score you can get. Like, it's the worst. And today I have phenomenal credit. I've got my money right. I'm financially independent today. But I learned some things of, because through so much pain and challenges and collection phone calls. And, I went many years without paying my taxes till I had a knock on the door. And the guy said, listen, I'm a federal agent. Either you pay, or we're going to give you a free room board. You're going to go to jail. So you make a decision. And, I used to avoid collection phone calls in my 20s. And so they started showing up at my doorstep and they started repossessing things, and it was embarrassing when your car gets repossessed and towed down the street, and when utilities get cut off and all the things. I've been through all that stuff. And so what I do today in my life, because it was a lot of adversities and obstacles, is every week I have a non-negotiable habit. Every Sunday afternoon, I have a non-negotiable habit. It's structured into my calendar, and it's called scenario planning. And I actually speculate the week in advance. This is a strategy that I use. I invite people to incorporate this. And here's the question. I have it in my journal here right now. What breakdowns, and I use a terminology called breakdowns. So in life, we have breakdowns to have breakthroughs, okay? And the key thing is that when, like they say, when you're digging a hole, you're going deeper and deeper into debt, or deeper and deeper into the relationship, or deeper and deeper into your problems or challenges. The key thing is you got to declare, you got to verbally say out loud, I declare a breakdown. And when you verbally declare, I have a breakdown, even in your relationship, if you get into an argument or fight with your spouse or partner in the next 24 hours, you need to stop and say, okay, I declare a breakdown. And what it does, it allows you to reset. So when you declare a breakdown, you stop digging the hole deeper and deeper, because you declare a breakdown. Because once you declare a breakdown, what's on the other side of a breakdown? Going up, a breakthrough. So the question I ask, because the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves. So the question I ask every week in my journal, and I write it out, is what breakdowns are possible to happen this week? And how can I manage them in advance of happening? So I look at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I look the week ahead, and I look at that 168 hours of what are all the things that can go wrong, right? Everything from traffic to internet connections to whatever it is, personally, professionally in my life. I speculate and I look at all the things, what breakdowns are possible to happen this week, and how can I manage them in advance? And I start to write things down on paper every Sunday of what are all the worst case scenario possible things that can possibly happen. I just speculate. I just write them down. Now, when I first started doing this, Tatjana and I would do this together, because she would see things different than I would see things, because we all have blind spots. Now, because I've done it so much through repetition, I can see it all the time. And then what obstacles might I run into, and how can I solve them in advance? Okay, so you start to think about what obstacles are you going to run into this week. It could be traffic. It could be that you're traveling and you got Wi-Fi connection, or you may have kids, or different things going on in your professional life. So how can you solve an event? So you write them down. So if they happen, you're not reactive, you're responsive to it. And you've got contingency plans of things you can do. And here's the thing, it's like a muscle. When you first start doing this, you're not going to see everything. You're still going to have blind spots. But after you do this for about 90 days, from my experience, it might be different for you, you're going to start to notice how you get really good at doing this, like really, really good at doing this, of speculating and looking at what are all the possible breakdowns. And then you're going to notice your behavior and your attitude is going to change. That when the problem happens, or the crisis or the challenge happens throughout that week, personally, professionally, you're not going to throw a fit. You're not going to throw a tantrum. You're not going to get freaking out. You're going to like, oh, wow, okay, got it. Okay, this is what I need to do. So it's a development of a habit that you develop. There's things that I've done because, up until just a couple of years ago, I used to travel 276 days a year. I used to travel 300,000 miles a year globally around the planet, right? So 3 weeks out of the month, I was somewhere on the planet, right? Traveling the world. So you can imagine traveling 276 days a year, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on airline tickets and hotels. You can imagine all the things that would go wrong in traveling 3 weeks out of the month. Right? Sometimes I was traveling 21 to 25 days a month, okay, on planes all the time. So there's always something going to go wrong, right? Emergency landing, an engine failure. Like I've seen it all when it comes to flights. I've been on planes with I'm not going to freak people out, but I've seen a lot, okay? And so now when I travel, I just pre-plan in advance because I got really good at contingency planning, because things that would go wrong if I didn't plan in advance, it would create a ripple effect, and it would affect things throughout my whole entire week when I was traveling. And so the things I just invite you to do is start to look at, maybe it's Saturday, maybe it's Sunday, maybe it's Monday, but start to look at your week in advance, look at your calendar, your schedule. What are all the possible things in my personal life that can go wrong this week? And write them down on paper so you can start to look at them in advance. And if you want, create contingency plans. Like now in my life, like one of the things that I do is, to me, I'm always on time. Like I have an iPhone, so I have alarms on here, but I'm obsessed with being on time. In fact, I'm obsessed with being early. Because to me, without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability. And I want to be reliable and I want to be consistent. So if give you a quick example, a few weeks ago, I went to get on a Zoom video call. And just as I went to get on the call 4 or 5 minutes early, my Zoom had to do some updates. And I got into the call a couple minutes late, and they were introduced me. When I got onto the call, the gentleman who was running the call, he said, well, Darren's here. Great. Let's just get started. I said, no, hold on a second here. I said, we need to stop. I said, I'm out of integrity. I need to declare a breakdown right now. And I need to restore my integrity with everybody on this call. Because right now, for a lot of people on the call have never met me, in the back of their mind, they're not going to verbally say it, but they're thinking, is this guy reliable? I read this guy's biography. Is this guy a flake? Can I trust this guy? Like this guy just shows up, he's late, and he just starts. And so what I did is I restored my integrity by acknowledging to everybody on the Zoom video conference call that I apologized. Okay, I let everyone down. I said I was going to be here on time and in place. And there's a listening and wondering, where am I? Is this guy reliable? Is he coming? What's going on? And so what I've done going forward is a contingency plan. The next time I jump onto a Zoom call, I've set my alarm 4 minutes even earlier and in my calendar. So I'm on a call even earlier, that if something should happen where the Zoom call has to do an update, I will still be earlier or still be on time. And from that day forward, I've done that consistently now, and I've had to do 2 more updates in the last little while here with all the security with Zoom, and I've been safe on that. So it's the little things that make it big. But here's the key thing: if you start taking this strategy and doing it, you see, people never assume we're not being observed. People are always watching us. Can I know you, like you, and trust you? And when you start to work on the little things in life, just start managing things. Like if you know you're going to be late, text message the person, hey, there's road construction, there's a motor vehicle accident, I took a wrong turn, my GPS sent me in the wrong direction. Let the person know. Be in communication, be proactive in advance. So now I know with my schedule in advance when things are going on. Like when I arrived here in Dubai just a few days ago, I was an hour and a half late. My flight was an hour and a half late. I actually notified the hotel on WhatsApp. I have a WhatsApp channel with the hotel. Mm-hmm. I notify them because you know why? I've traveled before where they've oversold the hotel and they canceled my hotel room. I arrive at a hotel at 1:30 in the morning and I got no place to sleep. And I'm like,
and I love what you're talking about, because I've been in, advisory councils for colleges on employment stuff. And it's interesting because the college is sitting there and they're saying, what skills can we teach them to make sure that these folks are ready for employment? And you go around the room with all these folks that are employers, and they all almost say almost exactly the same thing. It's the home training skills. It's the way that you present yourself, the way that you communicate, your attitude. Are you willing to learn a new thing? Are you showing up? Are you shutting the door behind you? Do you comb your hair? Do you brush your teeth? Silly kind of stuff. It's basic stuff. And I love that you're getting into the nitty gritty of it, Darren, because it's the mindset of somebody that pays attention. You know, folks wonder why is this person earning $1 million? Why is this person earning $1 billion? Because they're not sitting there struggling to show up on time. They're teaching other people other skills, and they have that stuff down, and they're not allowing that the garbage. You know, the folks, and we talk about the circle. You talking about it earlier. The folks in your circle of people, and if you're around people that are showing up late, that don't think it's a big deal to do personal hygiene, to do things, that's the wrong thing, and it's not teaching you the right things. It's not lifting you up in the world. Michelle, I know you want to jump in. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that what Darren was saying before about making sure that you are proactive, right? Mm-hmm. That you don't sit back and then be reactive and all these things happen. I think that's key. You can be the most proactive person in the world, but you also have to understand that you can't see everything coming, right? Even with all the preparation, being as proactive as possible, sitting down and thinking about the worst case scenario and how would I handle that. I do that also. In fact, before I have to make any major decisions, even sometimes smaller decisions, I have a habit now, and it wasn't easy in the beginning, but I do it now because it's almost like it creates a buffer, right? It like insulates you. Okay, well, this is in front of me this week or tomorrow or whenever. So this is the best case scenario, and this is the worst case scenario. And if I can literally verbalize or even write down or both the best and the worst case scenario, if I'm okay with both sides, then I know that I can proceed with caution, but I can proceed. And I feel like I'm armed. I'm a little bit more armed. And I coach people that way also. Like when people are really excited, like something incredible happened and they share it, or something's coming up and they get excited about it. You know, you're on a high, right? You're excited and you're pumped up and you're motivated and you feel like, wow, this is the way my life is going to be from here on in. But eventually, and I know Darren mentioned this before about the peaks and the valleys, if you're riding that wave and you're up on your peak, eventually it's going to go down. And if you let it go down too far and you don't regulate yourself, you're not going to be prepared for the valleys. So resetting your energy, your mindset, understanding that if you're proactive and you look at the best case scenario, the worst case scenario, and also a week out, a few days to a week out, it's very hard to do that up front because in a perfect world, we would like to think that whatever is going on right now in our immediate circle or right in front of us, that we'll make a decision and that decision will propel us into success, no matter where that is, personally, professionally. But that's not realistic. We chip away at it every day. And with a strong and positive mindset, we have to keep that momentum going. So I really love that about being proactive, about looking at the best case scenario, the worst case scenario, but also understanding that life really is 90% of, what happens to us. Wait, am I saying this incorrectly? I always flip this up. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we handle it. So I play this game with myself in my head, and every day I'm like, you know what? I know that I'm going to be blindsided by something, whether it's somebody calling me, learning about something. It happens every single day, and it happens to everybody. And yes, we can blow up and get crazy over it and overreact, and that may happen anyway, depending on what else is going on in our lives. But if we do these little things incrementally, we practice these things. Like Darren said, it becomes a muscle. The more that you work that muscle, the stronger it gets, so that when you are blindsided and things come from every angle, you are able to center yourself. It's no different than if people were going out to prepare for a presentation, a demo, interviewing with a company, going out to see a client, having to present information. We do pre-call planning. We do our research. We prep. We consult with our team. We go over our notes, our slides. All that work goes into something that we're, heading towards, and we prepare for the potential objections, handling those. What could the client or prospect possibly say? What if we're being interviewed and they come up with a question that we're not prepared for? What if they ask this? What if they ask that? We always, when things are important enough to us, we always go in as prepared as we possibly can be. So if we're going to do that career-wise, we have to do that personally as well, because it's all the same thing. You have to be prepared.
So I have everybody's LinkedIn addresses below, Michelle. If folks are wanting to get in contact with Michelle, with Darren, go down. If you're on LinkedIn, it's over to the side. If you're on Facebook, on the side. If you're on YouTube, the links are down below. But also let us know what website or place you would love folks to go, Michelle, to find you.
I'm sorry. Is that...
Yeah, to you, to Michelle, and then we'll kind of go around. We'll go Steve and Darren. But where should people go to find you, Michelle, other than your LinkedIn address, which hopefully people will do as well?
Well, it's mainly LinkedIn, and I have a page on LinkedIn also for Phoenix Factor Consulting. Or connect with me, send me an email, michelle@michellehechtcoaching.com. I'm always around. I am.
So we're kind of doing our closing statements here. We'll go round robin. So Steve, go ahead, Darren, and then Michelle, come back to you. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the storms, right? So I think, I heard it said, and I live by this, which is you can only control the controllables, right? There's always going to be things coming at you, right? And we have control of only two things in our life. And Michelle, you've touched on it. Darren, you've definitely touched on it, which is our thoughts and our actions, right? How it's not what happens to us, it's how we react to it, right? And it's sort of a version of one of the great quotes that Darren, you probably threw out earlier today in the discussion. But so it's how you are ready for it, knowing it's going to come. And so I have, an incredible morning practice that I do that prepares my mind, meditation, self-talk, right? All those things are I believe, strengthen me so that when stuff comes at me, I'm ready, right? I've got the armor on, and so that's really, I don't want to make it long because we're getting to the tail end of the show. So that was what I wanted to say. And obviously, I don't, if anyone wants to find me, if chances are, if you're on this show, you're already connected with me on LinkedIn, but please connect with me. And I'd love to have a conversation with you regardless. And I'll turn it back over to, I guess, Darren, you're going to give closing comments and also how people can reach you.
Sure. Whatever's going on in your life right now, you're going to make it through it and you're going to be okay. Just understand that no matter what's going on, whether you're going through a divorce, a separation, you're fighting with your teenager son or daughter this week, it's a financial stress, you don't know if there's going to be layoffs at your work this week, whatever's going on, right? You're behind on your taxes, your house is a mess, right? Your dog's sick, whatever's going on, you're going to be okay. And realize that life is like the seasons. There's 4 seasons. And you might be in winter right now. And for some of you, it might be a long winter, longer than usual. But you'll get through it and you'll get into spring. And some of you might be in spring right now and summer. But one thing to always consider is the paddle is always going to be at your butt. And so when things are good and you're focused on the sunshine in life, always remember that paddle is going to hit you in the butt. And so you've always got to be prepared. I think it was Elizabeth that put in the chat earlier, having a contingency plan of cash reserves of 6 months. Absolutely. I have a year's liquid cash. This cash reserve for all of our expenses for a group of companies in personal professional life. Now, when I was 40 years old, I was flat broke. And I said, in my 40s, I'm 49 now. I'm going to get my money right. It was the last 9 years I focused on getting my money right. Also, food supply. I have, over 6 months of MREs, meals ready to eat, food supply, just in case, contingency planning. And it creates peace of mind. Another thing, too, is estate planning. Every 90 days, sit down with yourself or your spouse or your partner, have a family meeting, all your free passwords for any apps, any websites you've got, paid or free. You start to keep track of them in a spreadsheet. If you're not good at organization, get somebody else. If something should unexpectedly happen to you, right? A lot of people are not organized in this area, and something unexpectedly happens, an illness or sickness or a death or an injury, and then all of a sudden there's a ripple impact to your immediate loved ones around you, trying to clean up a mess, and it's chaos. And so make sure that you prepare. with everything around you. Start to notice things in your life, passwords, people that you were involved with financially, a bookkeeper, an accountant, an insurance person, a lawyer, a real estate agent, a mortgage broker, an insurance person. Start to document all of this. So if something should happen, other people around you have access to that information. It's so important as we finish off this year strong and we start to prepare for 2022. Just think, we're less than 100 days left in the calendar year. Finish this year off strong, but start to structure and put things into priority. So you get things out of your head, so you de-stress yourself, so you can create more peace of mind. It's so important. I mean, so many people all the time, they got so much stuff, wearing so many hats going around. Yep. Start to put things in place that if something should happen, just in case, you don't create an impact for your loved ones around you. I've seen so many people create so much stress on their immediate loved ones and family members because they didn't take care of getting their house in order with their stuff. It's so important.
Love it, Darren. I just want to highlight, you were highlighting Elizabeth's content. Elizabeth, thanks for participating. It starts with having clear priorities so you can leverage resources differently as needed. If we're being super concrete and narrowly focused on money, everyone should work toward having 6 months of monthly savings. You heard Darren's answer, he's getting a year. And I thought that piece of what you were saying, just getting that peace of mind, which Estelle is going to comment on, right? Experience is an important teacher for navigating changing dynamics. And Estelle says, I prepare for the outside storm by cleaning the inside storms inside of me. I declutter myself so I'm better prepared emotionally to face everyday challenges and getting that peace of mind. Such a big deal. I think we hit the topic of today's show so well. Steve's going to close it out for us. Darren, thank you so much for bringing your A game here. Michelle as well. Thank you so much for the insights. I think also, we had 3 guys on the show today. So having somebody hold down and talking about moms dealing with stuff, so incredibly relevant. We live in a society where it's still challenging, if you just don't face whatever the mold that people are living up to. And so, being comfortable and getting into a place where you can be your true self without all the mental clutter and garbage and comparison game is such a big, big deal. So I'm glad you brought that to the show. Steve, let's crush it here.
Yes, sir. Let's. I just want to mention next week, 10/18, 1 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be going into servant leadership, and we're going to have amazing panelists. Oakland McCulloch, who's got an incredible military career. Chris Maccarelli, but she goes by Chris Mack, MACC, and Dan Horwich. All incredible people with very diverse backgrounds. It's going to be an amazing show. Don't miss the show next week. On the 18th, Monday at 1 p.m. But this has been great. Really appreciate everybody. I think our viewers got their money's worth for sure. So we're gonna go out as we always do. Remember, we want to be the light. It is our mission on this planet to be the light. This show is meant to inspire you, help uplift you, and make sure you have an amazing day. And thanks for one of the viewers commented on how inspiring this was, and that's a blessing to us. So let's count us down, and we're going to tell everyone to go out and crush it. So 5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
Crush
it. Go out there and have an amazing week, everybody. We'll see you next week for Servant Leadership, your company's growth and your success. We'll be back. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Michelle, for doing this show. You guys are amazing. And I'm hoping that people are going to connect with you. I know that we're going to continue the conversation. Thank you very much. LinkedIn, we are going to fire up your Monday.
With Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
Over the next hour of this Master Connection series, we will take a deep dive into the different ways to connect and network effectively.
See us and hear us right now. So LinkedIn, we are on here. We're getting ready.
Hear from experts along with Steve Spiro, who went from being shy and introverted to the Master Connector.
Playboy Sports, it was